I need you to promise me something before I say another word. Do not scroll away. Do not tell yourself that this is just another story. Because if what I heard today is true, if what I am afraid of is really happening, then my entire world may never be the same again. A few hours ago, I was sitting alone, trying to convince myself that everything was fine. I told myself the same thing every mother tells herself when worry starts creeping into her heart. I said, he's strong. He's always been strong. He'll get through this like he always does. But then the silence became louder, and the longer that silence lasted, the more a terrible question began to grow inside me. What if strength isn't enough this time? What if the person who has spent his entire life fighting impossible battles is facing one battle that even he cannot control? I never thought I would sit here and speak these words. I never thought I would look into a camera and admit that I am scared, not worried, not concerned, scared, because mothers know things. Sometimes we know before anyone tells us, sometimes we feel it before there is proof. And tonight, my heart feels heavier than it has felt in years. There is a reason I am sharing this with you. There is a reason I am choosing to open a door that I usually keep closed. Because what is happening has forced me to think about something much bigger than success, money, fame, or achievement. It has forced me to think about love, real love, the kind of love that remains when everything else disappears. The kind of love that stays beside a person when they are no longer strong enough to stand alone. And as I sit here thinking about my son, one question keeps breaking my heart. Who will truly be there for him when he needs love the most? Before I continue, I want to ask you something from my heart. If you believe family is the greatest blessing a person can have, please like this video. If these conversations about love, life, and family mean something to you, subscribe before you forget, because I would truly love to have you here with us. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are right now, because knowing that someone is listening makes this conversation feel a little less lonely. And if there is someone you love deeply, a daughter, a son, a sister, a friend, please share this video with them tonight. Life changes faster than any of us expect. Now let me tell you why I can no longer keep these feelings to myself. For most of the world, he is Elon Musk. They see headlines, they see interviews, they see rockets leaving Earth. They see businesses, achievements, and impossible goals becoming reality. But when I look at him, I don't see any of those things first. I see the little boy I held in my arms. I see the child who asked endless questions. I see the young man who carried dreams so large that most people thought they were impossible. And no matter how old he becomes, no matter how successful he becomes, there is one thing that will never change. He is still my son. That is why what I am about to tell you hurts so much. Because there comes a moment in every mother's life when she realizes that she would trade everything she owns for one simple thing. One more conversation, one more laugh, one more ordinary day with the child she loves. And lately, I have found myself thinking about that more than ever before. After a certain age, a woman begins to understand that the most valuable things in life are not the things people spend their lives chasing. It is not the money, it is not the recognition, it is not the applause. It is not the titles people place before your name. The most valuable thing in this world is knowing that the people you love are safe, and the most painful feeling in this world is realizing that you cannot always protect them. I wish I could explain what that feels like. I wish I could find the perfect words, but perhaps you already know, perhaps you are a mother too. Perhaps you have sat awake long after everyone else was sleeping, staring into the darkness, and wondering whether your child was happy, wondering whether they were lonely, wondering whether they were carrying burdens they never told you about, wondering whether they were pretending to be stronger than they actually felt. Because that is one of the hardest things about motherhood. Children grow up. They become adults. The world starts seeing them as independent people. But mothers never stop seeing the hidden parts. We notice the tired smile. We notice the silence. We notice the moments when something feels different. And lately, I have been thinking about those moments more than I care to admit. When people talk about my son, they usually talk about his mind, his ideas, his ambition, his determination, but very few people stop and ask a different question. Who takes care of the man who spends his life taking care of responsibilities that seem bigger than most people can imagine? Who comforts the person everyone expects to be strong? Who reminds him that he does not have to carry everything alone? Who sits beside him during the quiet moments when cameras are gone and expectations disappear? These questions have stayed with me, not for days, not for weeks, for years, because beneath every achievement is a human being, and beneath every human being is a heart that needs understanding, a heart that needs companionship, a heart that needs love. Sometimes I read comments from women around the world, women who tell me stories about their husbands, their children, their families, their struggles, and what touches me most is not perfection. It is loyalty. It is kindness. It is the willingness to stay, the willingness to hold someone's hand when life becomes difficult. Tell me something honestly. Have you ever loved someone during their worst season? Not their best. Not when everything was easy. Not when they were smiling and successful. I mean during the moments when they were scared, when they were exhausted, when they felt lost, when they doubted themselves, because that is when love reveals its true character. Anyone can stay when life is beautiful. Real love is revealed when life becomes frightening. And lately, I find myself wondering about that more and more, because when a mother feels helpless, she starts thinking differently. She stops caring about appearances. She stops caring about public opinions. She stops caring about things that once seemed important. Her focus narrows to one thing, the happiness and well-being of her child. I remember watching Elon when he was younger. There was always something different about him. He was curious in a way that was difficult to explain. Most children would accept the world as it was. He wanted to understand why it was that way. Most children stopped asking questions. He never seemed to stop. His imagination was enormous. His determination was relentless. And sometimes, as mothers do, I worried. Because the people who dream the biggest often carry the heaviest burdens. The people who change the world often pay a price that few others can see. Many women watching right now probably understand exactly what I mean. You can look at someone and see a smile, but smiles do not always tell the full story. You can look at someone and see confidence, but confidence does not always reveal what is happening inside. You can look at someone and assume they are fine. Meanwhile, they are fighting battles nobody knows about. That is why I always tell women something important. Never underestimate the power of your presence. Sometimes your presence heals wounds that words cannot reach. Sometimes your kindness becomes the reason someone keeps moving forward. Sometimes your love arrives at exactly the moment another person needs it most. Have you ever experienced that? Has someone ever entered your life during a difficult season and simply made everything feel lighter? I would genuinely love to know. Leave a comment and tell me. Because stories like those remind us that love still exists in this world, and perhaps now more than ever, the world needs reminders of that. As I sit here tonight, I find myself thinking about all the things mothers never say, the fears we hide, the tears we wipe away before anyone notices, the prayers we whisper when nobody is listening. People see strength, but behind that strength is often a heart that breaks quietly, a heart that worries endlessly, a heart that never stops loving, even when loving hurts. Especially when loving hurts. There is a particular kind of helplessness that comes with motherhood. You watch your child walk into situations you cannot control. You watch them face challenges you cannot solve for them. You watch them make decisions that belong entirely to them. And all you can do is love them. You hope, you pray, you wait, you trust. And sometimes that waiting feels unbearable, because mothers would rather carry the pain themselves. If given the choice, most mothers would gladly take their child's suffering and place it upon their own shoulders. That is how deep maternal love goes. That is how powerful it is. And yet life does not work that way. Life asks us to stand beside the people we love, while they fight their own battles. Life asks us to trust when certainty does not exist. Life asks us to believe when fear feels stronger than faith. That is not easy, not for anyone, certainly not for a mother. And recently, I have been thinking about another question. A question I wish more people asked themselves. If someone you loved needed you tomorrow, would they know without hesitation that you would be there? Not after thinking about it, not after weighing the inconvenience, not after considering what you might lose. Would they simply know? Would they feel safe in your love? Would they trust your loyalty completely? Because that kind of love is becoming rare, and perhaps that is why it is so valuable. People spend years searching for extraordinary relationships, yet often the most extraordinary thing is finding someone who remains, someone who chooses you repeatedly, someone who stays during uncertainty, someone who stays during fear, someone who stays during storms, someone who stays when leaving would be easier. As a mother, those are the qualities I admire most. Not beauty, not status, not perfection, kindness, patience, compassion, loyalty, a gentle heart, a forgiving spirit, the ability to love someone even when life becomes complicated. Those qualities matter. They matter more than most people realize. And tonight, as I think about my son, I find myself reflecting on those qualities more deeply than ever before. because life has a way of reminding us what truly matters, especially when we are afraid of losing something precious, especially when we are reminded that tomorrow is never guaranteed, especially when we are forced to confront how fragile life can be. That realization changes people. It changes priorities. It changes hearts. And it has certainly changed mine. The older I become, the less interested I am in superficial things. What matters now are meaningful conversations, meaningful relationships, meaningful moments, the things that remain when everything else fades away. And there is one memory I keep returning to tonight, a memory that has stayed with me for years, a memory that suddenly feels more important than ever. At the time, I did not fully understand why it affected me so deeply, but now I do, because hidden inside that memory was a truth about love, a truth about my son, and a truth that may explain everything I have been feeling lately. And when I finally understood what that memory was trying to teach me, I realized there was something I had never told anyone before. That memory comes back to me on nights like this, not because it was dramatic, not because it changed the world, not because anyone else would even remember it. It comes back to me because it reminded me of something that every mother eventually learns. No matter how far your child travels, no matter how many people know their name, a part of them always remains the little person who once looked to you for comfort. I remember a time many years ago when life felt much simpler. There were no headlines to read, no endless discussions about business, technology, or the future. There was simply a mother watching her son grow. Like so many mothers, I spent countless moments wondering who he would become. I wondered what kind of life he would build. I wondered what challenges he would face. I wondered whether the world would be kind to him, or whether it would test him in ways I could not yet imagine. If someone had shown me the future back then, I am not sure I would have believed it. I would have seen extraordinary achievements. I would have seen impossible dreams becoming reality. I would have seen millions of people talking about him. But do you know what I would have searched for first? Not success, not recognition, not accomplishments. I would have searched for signs that he was loved. Because love is what gives meaning to everything else. Without love, achievement feels empty. Without love, success becomes lonely. Without love, even the brightest victories lose some of their warmth. That is something life teaches us over time, and perhaps that is why this moment feels so emotional for me. Because when you fear losing someone, you stop thinking about what they have done. You start thinking about who they are. You start remembering their laughter, their habits, their voice, the little things everyone else overlooks, the little things that become priceless. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever suddenly realized that the moments you thought were ordinary were actually extraordinary? A family dinner, a phone call, a conversation that lasted only a few minutes, a hug, a smile, a simple "how was your day?" Those moments seem small until you imagine life without them. Then suddenly they become everything. That is where my heart has been lately, not focused on accomplishments, focused on moments, focused on love, focused on family, focused on gratitude. Because the truth is that none of us know how many ordinary moments we have left. And that truth can be frightening. But it can also be beautiful. Because it reminds us to value people while they are here. It reminds us to speak words that often remain unspoken. It reminds us to forgive, to appreciate, to cherish, to love more openly. One thing I wish more women understood is that their love matters more than they realize. You may think your kindness goes unnoticed. It does not. You may think your support is forgotten. It is not. You may think your presence changes very little, but sometimes your presence becomes the reason another person survives a difficult chapter of life. Never underestimate that. Never underestimate yourself. The world often celebrates loud achievements, yet some of the most important acts of love happen quietly. A hand held during fear, a patient conversation, a reassuring smile, a willingness to listen, a willingness to stay, a willingness to understand. Those things change lives. And they often change lives far more deeply than people realize. When I think about the future, I do not think about what my son might accomplish next. I think about something much simpler. I hope he is surrounded by people who genuinely care about him. I hope he is understood. I hope he is appreciated for who he is, rather than what he can do. I hope he experiences peace. I hope he experiences genuine companionship, because even the strongest people need somewhere safe to rest their hearts. Even the most determined people need understanding. Even the most successful people need love. Perhaps especially love. That is why I want to ask you something. When was the last time you told someone you loved them? Not because a special occasion required it, not because tradition expected it, not because circumstances forced it, but simply because your heart wanted them to know. Life moves quickly, sometimes too quickly. Days become months. Months become years. And before we realize it, opportunities disappear. Words remain unspoken. Feelings remain hidden. Regrets begin to grow. I do not want that for you. I do not want that for anyone. If there is someone you love, tell them. If there is someone you appreciate, tell them. If there is someone who has stood beside you through difficult times, tell them. Those conversations matter, more than you know. As I have grown older, I have learned that love is not measured by grand gestures. It is measured by consistency, by loyalty, by showing up repeatedly, by remaining present, by choosing the same person again and again, even when life becomes complicated. That is real love, and real love is worth protecting. One reason I wanted to share these thoughts tonight is because I know many women watching carry invisible burdens. You worry about your children, you worry about your families, you worry about people you love. Sometimes you carry those worries alone. Sometimes nobody realizes how much emotional weight rests upon your shoulders. But I see you, and more importantly, I understand you, because motherhood never truly ends, concern never fully disappears, love never stops. Even when children become adults, even when they build lives of their own, even when the world sees them differently, a mother's love remains. It remains through distance. It remains through disagreements. It remains through uncertainty. It remains through fear. It remains through everything. That is why I believe maternal love is one of the most extraordinary forces on earth. It survives circumstances that would destroy weaker things. It survives time. It survives disappointment. It survives heartbreak. It survives doubt. And somehow it keeps finding reasons to hope. Tonight, despite every fear I have carried, despite every worry that has visited my heart, hope remains. Hope remains because love remains. And as long as love remains, there is reason to believe in tomorrow. There is reason to believe in healing. There is reason to believe in brighter days. There is reason to believe that difficult chapters do not last forever. Maybe that is the message I most wanted to share. Not fear, not sadness, not uncertainty. Hope, because hope is what carries us through the moments we cannot control. Hope is what helps mothers sleep when answers are unavailable. Hope is what allows us to keep believing when circumstances seem overwhelming. Hope is what keeps our hearts moving forward. And if you have listened this far, I want to thank you. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Thank you for opening your heart. Thank you for allowing me to speak honestly. Before I leave, I want to ask one final question. What is the greatest lesson love has taught you? Was it patience, forgiveness, loyalty, courage? Leave your answer in the comments. I would genuinely love to read it. Because every life contains wisdom, every heart contains a story, and sometimes the stories we share become the light that helps another person find their way. As for me, after everything life has taught me, after every challenge, every success, every disappointment, every joy, and every lesson, I have come to believe one thing above all else. Love is never wasted. Not the love you give your children, not the love you give your family, not the love you give your friends, not the love you give the people who matter most. Love always leaves something beautiful behind, and when fear tries to convince us otherwise, we must remember that, because in the end, the greatest legacy any of us will leave behind is not what we owned, not what we built, not what we achieved. It is how deeply we loved. It is how sincerely we cared. It is how faithfully we remained. And perhaps that is why I still believe in tomorrow. Perhaps that is why I still believe in love. Perhaps that is why I still believe that even during life's darkest moments, hope deserves a place at the table. Before I say goodbye, there is something I want you to carry with you after this video ends. Tonight we talked about fear, we talked about love, we talked about the helpless feeling that sometimes finds its way into a mother's heart. But more than anything, we talked about something that connects all of us, no matter where we live, how old we are, or what our lives look like. We talked about the people we love. Life has a way of distracting us. It fills our days with responsibilities, worries, deadlines, and endless noise. Sometimes we become so focused on tomorrow that we forget to appreciate the people who are standing beside us today. We assume there will always be another conversation, another visit, another chance to say the things we keep postponing. But the truth is that none of us know what tomorrow will bring. That is why I want to leave you with a simple thought. If there is someone you love, let them know. If there is someone you miss, reach out. If there is someone you appreciate, tell them. Never let pride, fear, or time steal words that deserve to be spoken. Because one day, the things you will remember most will not be the things you bought, or the goals you achieved. You will remember the people, you will remember the moments, you will remember the laughter shared around a table, the late-night conversations, the unexpected hugs, the gentle acts of kindness, and the quiet reminders that you were never alone. Those are the treasures that truly matter. And to every woman listening to me right now, especially those who carry worries in their hearts for their children, their families, or the people they love, I want you to know something. Your love matters, your sacrifices matter, your prayers matter, even when nobody sees them, even when nobody thanks you, even when you feel exhausted, the love you give leaves a mark on this world that can never be erased. So tonight, wherever you are, I hope you choose hope over fear. I hope you choose gratitude over regret. And most of all, I hope you choose love again and again, even when life becomes difficult. If this conversation touched your heart, please leave a comment and share your thoughts below. I truly want to hear your story. Tell me where you are watching from, and what lesson love has taught you throughout your life. And if these words meant something to you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share it with someone you care about. You never know whose heart might need these words tonight. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for opening your heart. Thank you for reminding me that even in difficult moments, kindness still exists, compassion still exists, and love still exists. Take care of yourself, take care of the people you love, and never forget this.